Alright, here's my little plasma cutter, 375 Spectrum. And here's my setup. So from there, obviously this is the power line, and I have a 50-foot very heavy gauge power line. I'm running 220 volt, 220, 240. And here's my air compressor hose, and I have a motor guard filter, and on top of that I have another little filter. I'm not sure if the Spectrum has a little filter inside it or not. You need to filter out that dirty compressed air, but also the other end of the air compressor at the other end of the hose has a air oil separator. So basically that's air oil separator, this thing, and this thing. So that at least 3 things. This is what good idea to have if you're a if you're small do-it-yourself and you don't use it that often. If you do use a plasma cutter often, it's better to have a real air filter for the air compressor, so that way it gives out clean air. No oil, no air, no moisture, none of that stuff. Otherwise you'll destroy your plasma cutter consumables. I'm using a shade 5 lens. That's the minimum, shade 5. Depends on if you see the arc or not. If you don't see the arc, shade 5, because the light's still bright. If you do see the arc, you have to use the shade 10. Remember, a welding arc is a welding arc. Doesn't matter if it's a plasma cutter or a welder. So anyways, so here's my little spare tire wheel. I just took off the tire, and I actually tried I'm using it as a fire ring. As you can see how burnt up it is and stuff, but it didn't work very well because it's only basically one hole. There's a hole here, but when you lay it on the ground, if you look at the wheel itself, you see that the flange here is actually further over than the lip of the rim. So when you lay it on the ground, whatever hole's down here, it's all blocked, so it doesn't breathe. Only thing that breathes is down here, and that's not enough air. Now I had it on my fire pit, so the fire pit is a grate. So actually, so there's air down here, so it actually worked, but only the center got hot, and around the outside edge here it was very cold. So I'm gonna cut more holes. Basically have 8 holes, including this one here. So this is where the valve stem is, right? So I'm gonna cut this. This is pretty thick gauge. It's a pretty thick gauge. Steel. Bring my little thing closer, my clamp closer. Dump it down. I'm probably not gonna be able to film the arc itself because I don't want to burn off my the sensor on my my iPhone. So hopefully you guys can see something, but not everything. At least not the arc anyway. So I don't want to burn it. So I took some soapstone, drew some holes around the edge here. So because this thing is because it's raised from the lip here, when you set it on the ground, at least if the ground is flat, there's about ½ an inch of airspace, so that way the air could still get in here in these holes once they cut them out, and it can still get into the into the inside of the fire ring. So hopefully that should be enough, I think. If that's not enough, I could always raise this, put some rocks underneath this and raise this thing up, so that way the air hole get in here and also in the center as well. That should be more than enough, but I'm thinking this is enough. Yeah, so let's get started. So I think this gauge here is probably about 1/8 of an inch. Actually, the rim here. So the rim here might be, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if the rim is thinner or thicker than where the center is, the spoke part is. But the spoke part, anyways, if I look over here, this hole, the thickness here, that easily looks like it's 1/8 of an inch, maybe even more than 1/8 of an inch. maybe a 10 gauge. I think 10 gauge is a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch. But on here, the lip anyways here is thinner, because when they roll this lip, it actually thins out. So it probably is the same thickness. So I'm setting my plasma cutter to be hopefully cut at least at 1/8 of an inch. So I think that I burnt this thing enough that all the paint right here is burnt off. I'm not exactly 100% sure if the paint is burnt off here or not. If I'm not sure, let me actually put it in here. I know for sure this would be would have no paint on here. That's a very good contact point. Yes, should work, I think. So I have leather shoes on, protect my feet. Let's see. I don't want you guys, or at least I don't want my camera to see the arc. I don't want to burn out again, I don't want to burn out my sensor. Hopefully it doesn't see the arc. Hands a little tricky there. Okay, that should be enough. I don't have my hammer with me. And the hammer hit this thing down. Let's see. There it goes. Whew, smoke. Not very round. Oh yeah, this is pretty. Yeah, that's thick. Oh, that's right. This thing is definitely over 1/8 of an inch. That's not a very good hole. Actually, I didn't draw a good hole either. So that's one. Let's turn this around. Same thing here. So the important thing to that's smoke. The important thing to when you're using a plasma cutter, and people always make a mistake. This is extremely common. You see this all the time, and I see it on TV all the time too. All those supposedly pros. So you have the tip here, and the tip, if you look at it, at least this one anyways, the one I have, it's you're basically right there. So if you put this thing right on what you're cutting, it will actually damage the tip, wear out the tip faster. So you actually supposed to have a little bit of a gap between the tip and what you're cutting. So I think a 1/16 of an inch is good. Now if you have a torch tip that has a standoff where it has like little feet, like 3 little feet sort of that come out from the side of the tip, that right there will give you your standoff of about a 1/16 of an inch. So when you do this properly, since I don't have that tip, I have to give myself that standoff so I can't touch. So again, if you touch, and this is very common with people, they don't know what they're doing. They touch it and they drag the piece. With something that's thick like this, you can't do that. If you're doing like really thin sheet metal, like 24 gauge, 22 gauge, even maybe 20 gauge, you could get away with that. But something that's thick like this, you can't. It will wear out your tips faster. So I'm touching, I lift off just a little bit, strike my arc. Well, it's a little bit better. If it was continuous. Ooh, smoke. Nope, I didn't get it all the way through. Okay, I don't have my freaking hammer with me. Oh yeah, I did. That's how you know you have a good cut. If you hit it and it moves, you got a good cut. If you hit it hard and it doesn't budge, that means your cut did not make it all the way through. So you have to find a spot where you didn't make it all the way through and go back to that spot and cut it. So I'm just gonna continue this. I don't think you guys need to see anymore. It's the same thing. Here's the back side. Ooh, you see all the moisture there. That's because I'm cutting right on top of grass. And obviously, because there's a lot of heat, right? Everything that's below it is all burnt. But anyways, that's kind of like what it looks like. There's the original hole right here, the valve stem hole. So hopefully I think this is enough air that it gets through, right? So there's the side view. And you see where if this was on the ground, it would block right here. I have just enough air to get in there. All right, so that's it. Plasma cutting.